Good afternoon, Dr. Barton. I am here to present my professional learning plan based off observations from this year, or reflecting on the past couple years. And I have wanted to propose this professional learning plan to address some of the common themes of areas where we could improve to get where we want to go. Two things that kept coming up, both either from staff interactions or my own personal observations, were these two areas of improvement, these two intertwined areas of improvement right here. We certainly could be more consistent across the board with our content teams and PLCs approaches and follow-up actions to data analysis. A lot of times we see that some teams do it really well, some don't. There's not, we could do more to facilitate knowledge sharing among these teams who are doing it well, and not hearing out the teams that are having struggles. What are those, and how can we address them collectively as a school based off what we've already done, or areas that we could all grow together. No sense in each team reinventing the wheel each time. Secondly, this could also be encouraged by establishing and maintaining an open staff culture of collective learning and inquiry modeled by clear and consistent communication and action by leadership. There are certainly some teams and teachers who are afraid to ask for help out of fear of judgment. That's not done by explicitly any actions by the leadership or staff, but it is a certain, I feel, type of sentiment that can form by default if it's not addressed proactively by the teacher leaders among the staff itself, as well as leadership. And we could all do better as leaders to model that openness and transparency and honesty and accountability that's required for all of us to grow. And so in order to do this, I have developed an 8-part plan here, starting in pre-planning, going all the way through May, that interchangeably try to address both of these by focusing on the same thing. So, to develop a stronger affinity among teams, sometimes we do have people who do not feel connected to them, or they're just there so they don't get fined. But, the purpose of these PLCs is to be, an organic, open forum for professionals to share knowledge and improve student learning. So, during pre-planning, during one of the first days, we want to make this central to, our work this year. Start by, in pre-planning, having a time for teams to get together individually and collectively, to do a type of pre-flexion and feedback. So we're going to introduce, rearrange teams if needed. We do a pretty good job of, our teams are grouped according to, do for and learning by doing. Teams need to be logically organized. We already do that. We do that very well. We do it by content. We do it by, the interdisciplinary teams, I think, are very unified in their purpose and get a lot out of theirs. So let's start off by getting the teams back together. Introduce teams based off common content or goals. And then we're going to have them engage in a range of reflective and evaluative activities based off what happened last year. Now, this may be hard for teachers who were not here, but it would give them a good idea of where their team is at. There's a range of reproducibles in learning by doing we could use to facilitate these discussions. But basically give everybody a set of common questions to form a discussion, and to have one leader on each team kind of compile that. Let's get that to leadership so leadership can look at it. By one of the many protocols available, groups are going to outline norms for their work based off this. What do we want to see this year? Were there any challenges last year? A lot of times inconsistent attendance or lack of participation tends to be a big thing. Just by stating outright, setting some norms as outlined in Chapter 4 of Do 4, let's have them agree on explicit norms. It shouldn't have to be said, hey, you need to show up, but, sometimes it just has to be said and written down and everybody agrees. So we have something to point back to and give people a sense of buy-in. This may also be for certain teams that may feel a little bit more attuned to each other. In this way, this would be a good time for them to start using this time to outline a draft for this upcoming year's common formative assessment calendar. But that should occur after they've reflected on, last year's common formative assessment calendar. After that, to build a collective efficacy among the staff on how to conduct data analysis, we can't keep assuming that everybody knows this coming in the door. They don't. Data analysis is a vast field that, you know, 1 or 2 college classes in your bachelor's or master's degree is not going to fully address. So, during pre-planning, and we're going to revisit this quarterly during district collaboration days or in-school professional learning days. But during pre-planning, we will initiate a data PLC boot camp, which we might want to change the branding on that name. But in these professional learning communities, teams are going to learn about the characteristics of different forms of quantitative data analysis and application, as well as qualitative. I meant to include that in there. In the same session, teams will work to apply different types of data analysis to student work, and just kind of reflect, what is our data like now? Are we able to get quality data? First off, like, where is our data coming from before we even start to analyze it? But, you know, this is a good time for, you know, to gauge everybody's, you know, temperature on data analysis. A lot of people just think it's another hoop to jump through, and we're really trying to change that perception by giving them concrete tools and methods that they can use. And this addresses the learning forward standards of transformational practices by identifying learning drivers, you know, focusing on evidence and implementing new learning designs, as well as establishing this culture of collaborative inquiry, you know, of openness and collective learning, and as well as developing our professional expertise and getting into, you know, that curriculum assessment instruction, and getting deeper on that. So after, you know, after the pre-planning stage, and we, you know, we've set a good basis, we need to be consistent throughout the year with this. You know, a lot of these things start off well, but once the rubber hits the road, you know, by Labor Day, a lot of people may be off the wagon. So, from here, we've discussed, okay, here's your teams, here's the importance of those teams, and here is how you analyze data. The next step is, how do we turn that into practice, right? Based off to 4 Chapter 6. We're going to have teams solidify their collective knowledge of approaches to data analysis by, you know, picking one of those tools from before and applying it, one that the team either collectively thought was well done, or that one person on the team was like, hey, I'm really interested in this type of data analysis, and see if we can glean some more from it. But from here, there needs to be an emphasis on turning data into action. Okay, we see from what gaps do we see from our kids? What do they know? How do we what do we currently have? What are our current formative assessments or instructional strategies? Are we addressing these gaps, or are we extending the learning where it needs to be? And this could be accompanied by, you know, within Do 4, there's a little bit of explicit discussion about turning this data into action, like in a concrete way. There's also another really good book called Embedded Formative Assessment that I will also link, that has a lot of very concrete tools to give different ways to, you know, turn student data, you know, or interpret student data in a way that shows us what we need to do next. Rather than just filling in. This is not about filling out a spreadsheet and submitting it. It is about taking your data and making something with it, whether or not it's good, right? We don't want to let perfect be the enemy of good right now. We just want to see, what did we do based off this, and then later we can come back and reflect on it. And this, these address the standards of implementation, which I think is kind of the big glaring hole that we have. Is we have these good ideas, but how do we take it from the abstract and turn it into action? It also addresses curriculum assessment instruction, as well as helping to develop that professional expertise among the staff. All right. And then to address the, you know, leadership modeling, the behaviors that, you know, we want to see within our school, we should start to set up a more consistent, structured way for leadership to be involved in these PLCs, not in an evaluative or punitive way. We want to reduce that stigma of the administrator being in the room, so we need to do it more often. Bi-monthly at least. You know, I know schedules get hard, but we need to make it very intentional kind of have like a leadership purpose roadshow. Make it a point and schedule with your PLCs under your purview to be a part of those PLC meetings. Actively listen. Do not interject. This is not about leadership telling teachers something. This is about leadership listening to the teachers and only involving themselves when they're invited to involve themselves. Just to develop a better relationship, a more consistent working relationship between administration and the staff. Checking on team sentiment. It's a good time to get a temperature. If a team is not following the PLC protocol, this is not the time to be punitive, right? We need to identify why is this not working and see if we can do that. If it is a staff member, we address it, directly, respectfully, and privately, right? Not in front of everybody. We want this to be a very open forum. We will also take from, if there is a discussion part of this where the administration wants to get involved, this would be, especially at that first or second meeting, a good time to take those pre-flexion activities from back here in step 1 and kind of follow up on them, check in on them. What were the challenges? Are they still challenges? Do we have new challenges? Is something else going well now? What's new, and just keep our finger on the pulse of what our teams are doing. You'll often find the staff really appreciates that. It helps to give some sense of, okay, we are headed in the right direction. After a while, this is kind of where the wheels can fall off if teams feel rudderless. All right. So sometime later in the semester, whether it be at the end of the first semester, but probably more around like Thanksgiving, we should do a big check-in, right, with everybody, a mid-semester data showcase. During a staff-wide meeting, during a teacher workday, we need to both share the current school-wide data story, but then also really give a shout out to the teams that are really killing it, and also and try and emphasize the teachers who do not get recognized often. There are certain teachers who are rock stars. We all know them, but we want to try and lift all the ships. So let's make an intentional part to focus on the successes of teachers who do not get recognized often. In this goal, and also serve as an exemplar to the rest of the staff. Or if we want to, head off any potential animus among the staff, maybe we don't do that, but really show, hey, these are the behaviors we're seeing that we love. This is what's working. This is going really well. And even hopefully highlight things where teachers' lives have become easier by following this process, by embracing this collaboration. And this would be a good time, too, after some of those reflections from previous PLC meetings that, we collectively air out any challenges that we're having, be open, active listeners, demonstrate that leadership and culture of collaborative inquiry. And this is a good time. Hey, we hear you. Let's work. Let's explore some adjustments we can make and kind of make that part of the follow-up conversation, because we can't pretend that we got it right the first time. It just doesn't work that way. In the second semester, to continue developing that culture of collaborative inquiry and getting some cross, teachers interacting across the diversity of the staff, we're going to start monthly or bi-monthly peer observations. In lieu of a professional learning session, teachers are going to be asked to try and find time to observe at least one teacher. Now, this is a good place where we need to be intentional with our resource allocation. We do not want to ask teachers to give up a planning period to do one more thing, right? We need to be able to allocate our resources in a way that internally we can either staff those rooms with subs, or to demonstrate leadership, your assistant principal goes and covers for you, or some other person in the building covers for you, just to show how serious we are about this, but how much we appreciate their time to turn around and then hopefully implement. To get some of these things. And to continue that idea of iteration and, not assuming we got it right the first time. Around March, we're wrapping up, we're entering Q3. It's a good time to turn around and reflect on the data analysis and common formative practices that have gone through this year, and ask teachers what has gone well, what is not, what do you need, what can we do, those type of things. Praise between teachers is shared by leadership. Another important thing for the observing the herd, this is what we call it in our school, is that teachers are asked to fill out, and I'm going back to the last thing, I apologize. Teachers are asked to fill out a brief, very lightweight reflection form. We don't want to overburden them, but we do want to get data on that, and especially emphasize areas for praise or things they've observed. And the good things we see, we want to share those with those teachers who were observed and thank them for opening their rooms. And also, just kind of remind them, hey, you're doing a good job, because it can get lonely, right? Now, in March, we take that idea, start looking at data iteration. What are the things we need to update? What do we need to add? What do we need to change? And make that in a structured, focused way while also reminding teachers, hey, these are some of the things we've done this year, whether it be from data analysis or turning that data into action or common formative assessments. And as staff, during that time, make it a data collection thing. As staff, look for themes from these team responses, explore them as a leadership team, share them with the staff, get some consensus on where we are and what we need to do to address those. Because that's really where we are. We're in a monitoring phase, and we want to make sure we're doing this right while building up everybody's skills. And lastly, at the end of the year, we'll have one last time where teams revisit their SMART goals and standards from the year, propose their updates to CFAs and workflows for data collection and analysis. This really needs to occur in our school. We have a virtual week during AP testing at the beginning of May. This is the time to do that. We do not want to do it on the post-planning day. Everybody's tired. Everybody's trying to get grades in. This needs to occur intentionally during that time where we have a lot of time for teachers to work together during that virtual week, and make that a point so that they can come into next year's pre-planning with a game plan already lined up that can, more effectively be adjusted and start this base layer that we can then continue to grow. I hope that you found this helpful, and let's see where we go. Thank you, Dr. Barton. I appreciate everything. Really enjoyed this class. Look forward to hopefully meeting you one day. But thank you for everything. Hail Southern.